The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, greetings. Welcome to another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. This is program number 962, coming to you on Monday the 10th of February 2020. On this program, I will continue the topic started last week, so this will be the budget debate of 1997, part 2. As usual, let me send out my deepest condolences to all families which have suffered recent bereavements. The budget debate 1997. For those who didn't hear what I said last week on the program, or the week before the last, because there was no program last week, I was recapping much of the speech I delivered in the last debate I had on the budget in Parliament. The last budget speech I delivered during the budget debate in 1997 is being recaptured because 22 years from that date, and that debate itself, the day of the debate, was the 18th of December, 1997. So we are speaking 22 years ago. And what I did, as you will recall, those of you who viewed the last program, I was analyzing the debate itself. We have just had the debate in Parliament in this country on Budget 2020. I saw most of it on television. In fact, I listened to the entire budget presentation from the Honorable Minister of Finance on TV, and I saw most of the debate in the rest of the week. And in terms of the observations I made in Parliament in 1997, not much has really changed. In terms of the spirit on the presentation, there one had on the government side lavish statements concerning the growth of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines economy, and on the opposition side, criticisms thereof. Because nothing has changed in the way that budgets are put together. Because the political system is the winner-takes-all system, that is, the government has a totality of state power, and an opposition in our system has no power at all. Because of that, there is no input from any opposition party in the making of budgets in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I'm speaking about from time immemorial. I'm not just saying it's something that happened in ULP, NDP days. From way back when, we have a system where the government controls everything. The government makes all the decisions. And when it comes to the presentation of a national budget, a government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines hasn't got to consult the opposition and ask, well, what do you think about this or that proposal? It isn't done. So budgets are one-sided documents. They reflect the government side alone. And it doesn't matter who is in power. Now, if you think this is a system which is satisfactory, fine. But it is difficult to come to any rational conclusion that this is the best system we could have to craft the financial affairs of the state. And the fact that we have had this system since way back when doesn't mean that we have to keep the same system going into the future. I am putting out a challenge to the young people of this country, who are the men and women of tomorrow. You should not be satisfied with the political system as it has been operating in this country and in similar countries in the Caribbean and elsewhere. You shouldn't be satisfied with that. You shouldn't say, well, we got this from our forefathers and this is what we're going to keep. No. You have to address your minds to getting a more meaningful political and governmental system for the country you will inherit when you get into positions of leadership. So I will continue reading what I said way back in 1997 when I spoke on the budget in Parliament as a private member. I was no longer a member of the cabinet at that time. I will leave out bits of it because I wouldn't be able to read all of it in this program, and I certainly wouldn't want to carry over anything into next week's program, DV. So I will continue, but I will simply repeat the last paragraph that I read on the program when I dealt with part 1 of this topic. Here goes, quote, and let me remind you that I was speaking in Parliament on the 18th of December, 1997, 22 years ago. And this is what I said on that occasion. I have issued a public call some time ago, and I intend to take up the call for a national political stock-taking. We have to sit down. We have to find the goodwill between those in government and those in opposition, and not just talk about constitutional reform. We have to talk about basic systemic political reform. A reformation of attitudes. We must aim for the ideal. We may not achieve the ideal, but we must aim for it so that a budget exercise should be a gathering together at around the table of all the people elected to serve into office and those appointed to discuss in a rational and brotherly atmosphere the best options for our people at a time when we are running out of developmental options. And when we are agreed as people sitting around the table of a board of directors or people in the executive of a national organization, when we are of one accord, then we say to the nation, this is the best that your sons and the daughters in office collectively can produce for you in an ideal political situation. But will we ever approach this ideal? I will skip out quite a few pages and come to the concluding part of my address on that occasion. I said, quote, "We must understand and we must not mollycoddle those who are of a negative mentality. There are basically two classes of poor people. Those with ambition and those without ambition. Poor people with ambition are making it in this country. Those without ambition are falling by the wayside. You go now and you take any 20 poor people and give each one $1,000 and call them back in 2 months' time and ask them what they did with the $1,000. You will be back to the Bible with the parable of the talents. Some will make use of it to improve themselves. Some will fritter it away. Is the government to take responsibility for that sort of mentality? I have been, like all constituency representatives, both on the government side and on the opposition, involved in the public assistance program. People come to you, they go to a member on the public assistance board, and they make a case for assistance. It isn't every home you can visit to verify the need. You take some of them on trust. So you organize to assist them with some materials. Most, when they get the material, will make use of it in their homes. Some will sell it and drink rum. You cannot avoid that because some are of a worthless mentality, while the vast majority will put the material to good use. And you cannot screen 100%. You are lucky if you can screen 80% of the applicants, because some people behave like that. Mr. Speaker, and no government of whatever party should take responsibility for the mentality that operates with certain people, and the mentality can exist almost regardless of home training. I continued in the budget debate of 1997. I said, many parents who go to visit their young sons in prison have led blameless lives as parents. They have done all they could for their children, nothing more left for them to do. But somehow, some of their children go astray. Some parents, of course, are delinquent. Some fathers in this society do not pay any attention whatsoever to their responsibilities for maintaining their children. And thanks to the family court and other institutions in the society, more and more are being brought to bear upon the seriousness of this responsibility. Excuse me. But many of the fathers in this country are delinquent. And this contributes to difficulties because you have mothers struggling on their own to bring up children of different fathers, some of whom are supported and some of whom are not supported. And some men may give a woman her third child, refuse to give support for that child on the ground that the mother will use it to buy food for the other children. How do you expect a mother to feed one child out of 3 and let the other 2 go hungry just because the money came from the pocket of one man? Impossible. You are asking a mother to agree with King Solomon to cut the child in 2. So it is inevitable that when support is given, it would be used for the benefit of all the children. But on this ground, some fathers refuse to support their children. Now, this is where the government must continue to play a leading role and to activate some of the some of the mechanisms in the law. For example, we do not do very much about the attachment of earnings, but this is one means we have to employ to enforce compliance with the maintenance laws of this country. I continued in Parliament. But another aspect of our distorted political culture in these parts is that over the years, when we were in opposition, and I'm talking about the NDP, and now the present opposition, have fostered the attitude that the government is responsible for everything that goes wrong in the society, and we have let people off the hook. We have not had the courage, when in opposition, to point the finger at people and say, you have to be more self-reliant. The government can assist you only so far, but you have to do the rest. Instead, we try to mollycoddle people, encouraging them in their negative and anti-developmental attitudes, and tell them all you have to do is to change the government and everything will be okay. We have to confront the nation in an honest, straightforward manner regardless of the political consequences, and say that the world has changed. There are no more national godfathers out there. The United States is no longer going to help us, and the help from other countries will progressively dwindle. We have to tell our people where it stands, now that we have to rely more and more on our own attributes, our own resources. And one of this reliance is that we have to find a political system that can harness the creative energies of all sides of the House. At the end of my speech, I said the following, and for those who just tuned in, I am reading from the speech I delivered in Parliament the last time I spoke in a budget debate, which was on the 18th of December, 1997, when I was no longer Minister of Government. I concluded my speech by saying, quote, "The only government offices, in my view, that need vehicles now are the police, possibly ambulances and garbage trucks. But the problem all ministries have now," and we're talking 22 years ago, this is what I said, "the problem all ministries have now, as the Prime Minister so aptly observed a few days ago, is parking space. You go to the compound and you see about 10 Pajeros. The Ministry of Agriculture is full of vehicles. What more vehicles do senior civil servants want to do the public work? So I hope the Prime Minister will use that allocation to provide vehicles for the following. Every police station should have serviceable vehicles. More ambulances, more fire trucks, more dump trucks, but no vehicles for civil servants to go and parade about. But the budget and the estimates are cast in stone because of the process we have that we just have to look on. And I ended by thanking my family and my constituents and wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, because those days the budgets were before Christmas. Now, there is a reason why I keep harping on this question of political change, changing the system, changing the Constitution, and it is this. The way that governments are operating under the Westminster system could not possibly be the best model for young developing countries to adopt. Because for one thing, the political system, because of political tribalism, because we really divided basically into 3 tribes. Those who support one party, those who support the other party, and those who do not have any political support, any firm, lasting support for one side or another. 3 sets of people basically make up the voters. But when elections are held, only the winning party gets the chance to make decisions concerning the entire country. So what you have in St. Vincent today, the 10th of February 2020, is a small country with a budget of $1.2 billion and only one political party gets to decide how that money is to be spent and how it is to be raised. In other words, in our system, an opposition party has no say in the crafting of the budget. They could go to Parliament and pamperset and quarrel and complain and so on, but if the government doesn't want to bother with an opposition, it just ignores the opposition. Now, young people, that is not a system which you can go forward deep into the 21st century with. You young people have to find a way in which all of you could collectively make decisions concerning the people. You shouldn't find yourself in one political camp or another, in a state of hostility, animosity, quarreling, hatred, tearing down. No, you have a country to build. And the country could only be built on the collective efforts of everybody. You need a political system that enables the collective energies and ideas of your brightest minds to come to the front. Don't be satisfied with having 2 political parties dominate the scene. And when one gets into power, it makes all the decisions, usually in its own favor and in favor of its supporters. And those in opposition simply have to, what I call, grovel in impotent rage. Don't be satisfied with it. Ask questions about the political system. Debate the political system and find out how can you make the country work better in the interests of the people of the country. If you are satisfied with decision making in our system, as I said, fine. But I don't think you should be satisfied with the system at all. These are matters I leave for you to ponder. So that is all from this program of the Law and You, program number 962. I look forward to be of further service to you next week, Monday, DV, for another presentation in this public service nation-building series, The Law and You. Until then, do have a blessed week, and may the good Lord continue to bless and favor us all.
The Law and You, a look at laws in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which affect our daily lives. The Law and You, presented by lawyer panel P.R Campbell QC and brought to you on SVG-TV as a public service.